Shaolin, now all I touch, I am a master here. So again, I've lived with you now, mate, and I know I've seen you try to control your limbs, and it's a pleasure to watch. It really is, but you can't go 5 minutes without knocking something off somewhere, can you, or smashing something?
No, that's
So you, because like, according to our producer and stuff like that, you're one of the best drummers he's ever recorded and stuff like that, mate. So how do you go from college band level to then such a standard? Is that just practice, or what was that? Or do you even know? You're very modest, so just be.
No, just a note on my clumsiness. I do have this theory that when you're as lanky as me, your brain thinks that your nerve endings are a bit shorter than your fingers. So I reckon in my head, my nerve endings are like not even like 0.1 of a millimeter shorter. So my brain thinks that my arms are just slightly short. So when I go to pick something up, I fucking just knock it over. When I'm running under something, I'll hit my head like all the time. Yeah, I'm very sensitive.
What was the last thing you broke?
A Pyrex glass jug, you know, the little 500 milliliters.
When was
last
this?
Week I told her. Last week I told her. It's been a while since I broke something.
What's the most
Last
expensive?
week.
What's the most expensive thing you've broken?
Oh man. Obviously phones. I've not broken a phone for a while though. I don't know. You know me. Every single thing I own is a little bit broken and needs to be used in just a specific way that I know. So if anyone comes to use any of my stuff, they're always like, what the fuck, how do you use this? But I've got my specific ways of using them and I know. But yeah, everything I own is a little bit broken.
You got alarms on your keys still, James, as well. So you can find
No,
your
I
keys.
fucking lost them.
Man,
Don't know where it is. Yeah. I've not
It's
lost my keys
mega.
in ages too.
It's great to watch, mate. It's really entertaining. Like, I had a really good couple of years there. Getting to watch that every day. But yeah. So
In terms of what Matt said about me as a drummer, I'm assuming that he's only recorded 2 bands then, hasn't he?
us in this one and us in the previous one.
Yeah.
No, it's very complimentary of you, mate. You know he is, and it's just you. I've known you for a while now, and you've always been shit hot. So there must have been a jump there. But like playing in the previous band, we more told you what to do, didn't we? Rather than kind of let you be yourself in a way. We kind of had a vision and idea of how we wanted it to be, and it was kind of like, can we have the drums more like this?
Well, it's just it was a weird one, wasn't it? And I think that's part of the sound we kind of had was
Definitely.
I grew up listening to new metal and pop punk and a little bit of hip hop, but mainly that was it. And some metal bands like Iron Maiden and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, I can't remember how it happened. It's just Ryan got me into this band, and I'm in a room, and all these guys are stood around in paisley shirts. Sid, the mod, that's the nickname you've got because you're a mod.
That's my Netflix name.
Telling me to play a bit more like Ringo Starr or try and make it sound 60s. And I'm like, man, the 60s. In my head, that was like so far away. That's like fucking granddad's music. What do you mean play like I'm in the 60s? So I had to go and start listening to stuff that I'd never listened to, which was a great journey, an amazing journey. Like to go from listening to just like pop punk and all that kind of stuff. I did listen to a lot of varied stuff, but never anything old as such. And then was the journey of discovering the Beatles, which a lot of people I imagine would be so jealous about. Like I got to discover the Beatles for the first time at the age of 18 and listen to all their records for the first time at the age of 18, which I'm sure a lot of people are jealous of that. And then other American bands like The Band and Dog.
Bella.
Bands like
Team mascot. Bella.
Come here. Damn it. Yeah, the Americana stuff like the band, Eagles, Pompeii. Well, the Eagles I grew up with them because my dad was always a fan. Eagles, Fleetwood Mac, and rock music were just always playing in our house.
The Eagles are now two out of the past 2 now getting a mention, aren't they? Denny was the same with Eagles, but I didn't discover Eagles till later. But
Eagles are more popular than you'd believe because aren't they like the Great Hits
I
are
can
even
see that.
like the best-selling album of all time?
Yeah, I suppose, mate. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Makes a good Christmas present for dads.
Absolutely. So yeah, that was a great thing to go through. Like, but then I had this weird style of someone trying to emulate style drumming that's popular in the 60s and 70s, who's just used to hitting drums really hard and really fast. And then that was kind of my kind of weird spunky style that I got.
Yeah, because it was your biggest like kind of few influences drumming wise.
At the time, it was Travis Barker. It was like my go-to. And there's always been Benny Greb has been a favourite of mine, Stanton Moore. But my favourite drummers were always like not people I listen to.
Okay.
They're just drummers I respect and stuff. And then I couldn't even tell you half the names of the drummers of bands I listen to the most.
You just like the style, you just hear it and it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
What was your interpretation of when we were pushing you down that route? What was like the definition of, I suppose it's really stupid to say it, isn't it, really, like a 60s style, or like what was the thing that you kind of identified the most?
For me, it's the song "Is It Tomorrow Never Knows" by the Beatles.
It's the beat. That is the beat.
That drum sound and that beat was what I had in my head.
Well, I think that you just hit on an interesting point there. It's not necessarily where you play it; it's the sound of the kits as well. Back then, you know, they don't not like the kits that we have now, or the recording techniques as well. So I think that has a massive thing to do with it. You know, it's really strange. Like today, you listen to a drum kit, it's really well recorded. You know, it's completely different approach.
No, yeah, you're barely listening to a drum kit, I have to say, a lot of the time.
Yeah, there is that as well.
You're listening to like an emulation of a drum kit, even if it's a real drum kit that's been used, recorded. You're kind of listening to an emulation of that as its final product.
Yeah, it's just interesting because like when you say, "Oh, play like, you know, make it sound like 60s," it's like, all right, well, go and get me a drum kit from the 60s then.
Yeah, that is probably the biggest part, to be honest with you. Isn't it?
Was there anything musically that was unique to that sort of era that you thought that is different now for drummers?
I don't. Well, we've kind of had a kind of. Well, I say this, I sound old. We've not had a resurgence of it. We did like 5 years ago. 10 years ago, like bands like probably even longer ago, like the Coral and stuff like that. Who's the drummers and the kind of drums when you go to these little indie gigs that were popping up all the time, you were starting to see all these old 60s kits crop back up, and everyone's using them again now. What was the question?
I was just asking, like, from a musical perspective rather than sound, like what was kind of unique to that sort of style of playing. One of my things probably would be there seemed to be a lot more space with the drums. Like they were more, I'm not going to say more musical because that would discredit what people are doing now, but you know, he touched on it with like the choral. It was more for the song, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. 100%.
Especially like a lot of the Motown stuff as well. You know, there wasn't a lot of drums in some things, and it would build, and drums would come in and create a certain texture. Like, yeah, I suppose that's what I would probably say on the matter.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
You smashed it. Yeah, absolutely right there.
So, James, obviously, kind of we wanted that. You got me into Kendrick Lamar. You played me Kendrick Lamar, and that kind of changed my life. Like you did, like you taught me to read. Play me Kendrick Lamar.
Wait till I show you maths. Wait till I show you maths, mate.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that after this lockdown.
And cooking.
And cooking. I've just made a meal that James taught me tonight. I'm on that. But anyway, so I learned a lot from you, mate, which is nice. But yeah, so kind of when we went into this, we kind of we were getting into these hip hop sounds and stuff like that, and we were influenced by a lot of like Kendrick, Kanye, 21 Pilots and stuff like that. All the old Dr. Dre stuff and all that kind of thing. Beastie Boys again. And we would like, to you, it was kind of like, because I felt like responsible in a way for kind of just try to tell you how to drum for so long. When it came into this band, in my head, it was just kind of like, I want to let James just he might have just go for it this time. I wanted him to kind of lead the sound in a way. I don't know if you had the same impression, Ryan, or the same feelings around that. But like, because you've become such a tight rhythm section in the previous band, I wanted to, in my head, I wanted to exploit that even more and just kind of push that out and just give, because it was all that freedom stuff that we were doing. The ideas were free and stuff like that. Did you feel that as you started, and is that kind of, are you enjoying it, being allowed to kind of just explore your kind of avenues and stuff like that?
No, I hate it.
Yeah,
It's
that's
awful.
good. That's good, because I hope you do.
No, absolutely. Like, you can totally tell now that my new metal and my pop punk past is allowed to shine, which isn't a bad thing. I know people for that style of music, and that's what I've always enjoyed playing, pure energy. So it's like I get to incorporate that into just more interesting ideas, more sampled sounds, electric sounds, different. Like when we were recording our last set of tunes, just having a whole kind of electric kit to play with a few acoustic elements thrown in, a completely hybrid setup. That's completely changed the game for me. It's like a fusion of all the styles I like, and you don't often get the opportunity to play like that in a band, do you? Like,
Not at all.
if you're playing music in a band a lot of time, especially if you're stepping in as a session person, it's a genre of music, and you're expected to play as if like someone else from that genre of music. Whereas with us, it's kind of like we didn't have a genre, we didn't have a sound, we didn't have any of that when we started. It was just an exploration of what everyone sounded like coming together.
Yeah, man, it's that kind of, and like bringing up Matt Terry again, our producer. I know I keep saying Matt without mentioning that, but he kind of encourages you to be as experimental as possible and to be as free as possible at the same time as well, don't he? I know you're always quite happy in the studio when it comes to doing your drum set, and you always get through it really quick and stuff like that. Like it's easy to you.
Yeah, a big part of it's like a big concern of ours, but also one of my favorite elements is, personally, for my parts in particular, I enjoy going into the studio with a bit of freedom around our ideas. If I've got parts completely nailed before we go in, I struggle to get that out of my head. So if we start exploring other ideas while we're recording, I always loop back to that part I've already got. Whereas I like being able to go into the studio kind of knowing the songs, knowing the feel of the songs. But if it comes down to it and I'm sat behind a kit, I want to be able to kind of go, I want to try this now, or let's do this, and get parts out that way. And yeah, like you said, Matt definitely encourages that kind of element of myself in the studio, which is great because it's supposed to be enjoyable and fun, isn't it?